Hey guys, welcome to another episode of SliderCuts Shaping Up Culture. Today's episode is the fear of failure. The fear of failure, guys. This is a mindset and a place that a lot of people live in where they're afraid to attempt doing things because they're scared that they might fail. So many people are so afraid of the idea of failing that they refuse to attempt doing it, which leaves you in one position that you don't get the thing that you want to get. This topic came up because I had a friend growing up who, I don't want to say it like this, but realistically, he was always kind of let down. Like he never used to attempt going for things. He always used to say that he was this and he was the best at that and he was this and he was that, but he would never actually ever challenge himself. He would never like go for the auditions, the trials, the interviews and this and that, and would always have an excuse as to the reason as to why he couldn't make it. I just thought, to be honest, he's just a letdown and he's not serious. Later on in life, in more recent times, you could say, like more recent years, I had a conversation with him and he said to me, do you know what, to be very honest, because the truth is, the reason why he always makes excuses is because he's just actually afraid to fail. Like he says that he actually is just scared. And we were adults now. And he just said to me, like, I'll be honest with you, I'm just afraid to fail. So he goes, I don't know what it is, but this thing comes over me and I get so scared that people are gonna judge me and everybody's expecting that I should get it and everyone's expecting this from me that I get so scared that I just don't attempt. When I heard this from him, it started making so much sense. The amount of things he just turned away and the amount of times he just didn't show up. Like he was living with this growing up and nobody knew about it. What it made me think was, imagine he would have spoken about this a lot younger. Imagine where he could have been. Imagine the things he could have achieved. Because a lot of times we get caught up in these mindsets and you could call it bondage. And when we keep it to ourselves, it stays within ourselves and we feed ourselves the lies like, you know, it matters. Because the truth is, nobody would have actually cared if he would have gone for this interview and he didn't get the job, or this audition and he didn't get it. But he had created this thing in his own head, and his mindset was playing these games on him, making him believe that it was the massive or the biggest thing for him to fail. A few weeks ago, this topic came up again, and this is what made me say that I was going to talk about it today. Was a few weeks ago I was in church and there was a lady called Susie talking, and she talked about how she had struggled with this same thing of the fear of failure and how it basically had been a bondage where she'd get so worried about things and worried about the idea of failing and succeeding and stuff like that. And that's what made me say, do you know what? Let's talk about this. So this subject here I'm talking about, it really is just to highlight this. And there's so many people which are struggling with this mindset. And the piece of advice I'll give you guys is simply one. In all of these things, you need to learn to speak truth into your own situation. Because the truth is, if you're going for a job interview, and you want to work at the barbershop as example, the thing you want is to work at the barbershop. The thing you don't want is to not work at the barbershop. So when you choose not to go there because you're so scared that you might not get the job, it ends up resulting in the thing you don't want, which is you not getting the job. Now, obviously I get it, that is the logical thing. And when you're in this mindset, it's not as simple just to speak these things to yourself. And that's why it's good to come out of yourself and not listen to your own thoughts, but speak to someone else. One of the hardest things, but one of the most freeing things in life is to reach out to someone and say, I have a problem, or I am struggling with this. But when you actually say these things and speak to other people, you start realizing it's one of the most freeing things. It feels like, what do you call it? You've been in prison and someone's opened up the door to you. So I would simply just tell people who struggle with this fear of failure, stop feeding yourself the lies and speak to people, speak to friends, speak to trusted people, family members, whoever it is, anybody you kind of like trust, speak to them. Objectively, guys, the truth is, from the outside, no one really cares that much. Like, if I'm just being very honest, and I remember saying this I've said it to various people, no one actually really cares that much. We create this idea that we're more important than what we are, and people and everybody's watching our lives and everybody's watching every step. And the truth is, we're just not that important. That people who have got their own things going on in their own life want to be watching us and saying, did he get that job? Did he not get that job? What trainers is he wearing? Did he run fast enough? People just don't care that much. But I get it. The mindset makes you believe that the world kind of revolves around you and everybody's watching you and everybody, you know, has their eyes on you. But the truth is, people just don't care that much. So what I'm saying in conclusion, guys, is simply, if you struggle with this fear of failure, this mindset that's keeping you in bondage, simple things, guys, speak to somebody. Also, speak it out there, because sometimes we have all these things going on in our heads, right? And when we actually just speak out loud, we start realizing it actually is a lot more stupid than we made it out to be. It's a lot smaller than we made it out to be in our heads. Our heads can create these can take a little stone and make it into a mountain. So guys, seriously, speak to somebody, speak it out, speak truth into your life, and don't be held bondage anymore to this idea of fear of failure, because you only fail if you don't attempt. Say this to yourself: you only fail when you don't attempt. And when you don't attempt, it ends up resulting in the thing which you don't want, which is you not getting that. At least when you try, it's 50-50. You might get it, you might not get it. You don't try, you don't get it. So seriously, guys, come out of the fear of failure and see it as success is trying, failure is not. Like with this mindset, what I realized as well is that sometimes it comes from pride and ego. That the pride that we have, the ego that we built up in ourselves, you know, the image that we created of ourselves, that we want everybody to believe, that we are now fighting with that. And this is why you just got to learn to be humble in life, guys, because you can have this pride, this ego, you can create this image that you want everybody to believe, but then you have to live up to that image. And this is why instead, just humble, be meek. Instead, you know, just go about your life. Stop like making yourself the big boy, the big girl. Some people just generally have the insecurity, and other people created the insecurity. But yeah, I guess it's weird, because I guess there's so many people which haven't reached their full potential because of that. Because if you never attempt doing anything, you can never achieve anything. So there's loads of people which haven't reached their full potential for that reason. And even with this guy, when I spoke to him about it, basically he would have rather, because he was afraid to fail, and because he had created this persona, he would rather be in a house saying that I'm better than that person or I'm better than that person than actually attempt, because then he would have to live up to his words. So instead, he would just make excuse and not go. And then at least for him, in that mindset, for him, he was always winning, because no one could ever call him out because he had never failed. But to me, I think that mindset should be changed to instead, you did fail because you never attempted. And the people which you did attempt and maybe never succeeded, they still were successful because at least they know. So yeah, that's what I would say to anybody who kind of holds it, whether it's just through general fear and insecurity, or if it's kind of like you feel like you created this persona of yourself and now you got to live up to it. Whatever the case is, do not ever see it as failing, not achieving the things you want when you've attempted. It's failing, not attempting. Please subscribe, share, like. If you like this video, share it with someone, leave a comment. And if there's anything, guys, you want me to talk about, please leave it in the comments and let me know.